Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Unfortunately, I cannot color swap, so I don't like this color because it kind of hides the name, but that is MetodMan with no H. I don't know if that's a riff on MethodMan, but or MetodMan might actually, or MetodMan might actually be the proper pronunciation. He's going to be the Protoss upper left-hand corner. We have Wizard starting as the purple Zerg in the upper right-hand corner. This is going to be on Deja Vu, so, which I like as an opener. Good map. It looks like initial Overlord is scouting to the top left here from Wizard. And I'm trying to remember, so I was actually having this discussion with one of the BSL participants themselves, Yui in Twitchland chat. I know that if you exit with a lot of wins in top position, if your score is tops, you get to skip the initial round of I guess it's the round of 12 rather than the round of 16. So you basically kind of skip the initial stage of the round of 16, and you get a bye the first week, and so you get a little bit of a breather. It looks like we have a pylon drop, and I think this is going to be a forge first opener because MetodMan already scouting with this initial probe wants to see if he can get scouting information to, but actually he could even skip Nexus potentially depending on what the build order is, but overpool tends to be very, very popular, so usually you need to get that forge. Looks like we are seeing an overpool here. But, okay, for a second there I thought he's going to miss it. Nope, but able to walk up, just needs to confirm that pool, and should drop the forge in the midst of this. Going to be a little bit slower on the forge than he could have been. But should be fine. But anyway, point being, if you have top scores, you skip the first round of the next stage of the tournament. I think there's a tiebreaker potentially if you are 1 and 3. And if you're 0 and 4, you're out, is I think what it comes down to. I think there's anyway, we'll see how it works. Nice pylon block as well to delay the third base. So that might cause this drone, rather than just scout, to go ahead and grab, and let's see if it repositions to the north or to the south to grab to grab a hatchery at a different location. What this can do is, for Zerg, I guess it's more of an annoyance more than anything. It does delay the hatchery by several seconds, but it's not end of the world. No Zerglings queued up, just 2 Zerglings queued up at close positions. We have double cannons getting dropped. And actually, let's see if these cannons get canceled, because MetodMan making his way about still sees no hatchery right here, but sees no Zerglings as well, and he does cancel one of the cannons. Nice adjustment. Only needed the 1 cannon actually in the midst of this, so could have gotten that Nexus a little bit earlier, but has done some pretty good harassment in the midst of this. First Zergling, oh no, it's gonna end up losing the probe. He's gonna have to get another probe out in the field. Is this probe gonna be the one? The probe with the minerals in hand is a little bit less useful than probes that should be out in the field otherwise, but it's really important for Protoss to get that information. Very early dive here from the Overlord into the main to get eyes. Usually you'll see this later, and I'm wondering if this is going to indicate a 973, because usually you'll see this later to confirm. Usually what this Overlord is there to confirm is that an assimilator is being grabbed and you're trying to find the cybernetic score in the midst of that to know effectively spire timings versus anything else. But diving, and usually you do that closer to when your spire is being plopped down. But this early, I will be curious, and it looks like it is going to be the probe with the minerals in hand. This early, I'm wondering if he's thinking like, okay, let's debate. And so maybe we're actually having the layer mutate at the 3 o'clock location. Let's see if MetodMan goes and finds that. So, because the other option of this is like, are you going to skip Stargate or put Stargate at another location? So it might be confirmation of the 3rd right here. But and the other option is even with this is a very, I do want to say this is somewhat of a risk, because if it is a large zealot flood in the mid game, and I'm wondering if MetodMan is going to adjust that. He's trying to find the location of that 3rd nexus right this second. It is not finding it in the bottom right hand corner. But the other risk of this, I guess it's a little bit less likely, because with the forge first openers you have fewer zealots, and so you have like a delayed zealot rush when it's coming. But this layer is going to have to be very, very protected here at the 3 o'clock location. By plopping it down here, it is attackable and hard to reinforce, which means Wizard is going to have to make sure he maintains a larger degree of map control at this 3 o'clock location. It looks like the probe sees the layer at the 4 location. He had already invested in Stargate. Overlord making its way back out. I have a feeling this is just going to turn into 4 hatch. Yeah, there's the spire. and I'll see if the 4th hatchery is just going to get plopped down in the midst of this. I'd almost expect the 4th hatch at the 3 o'clock location with a bit of a stronger SimCity. 2 Zealots also making the way out, force a couple Zerglings in the field. No 4th hatchery as of yet, with the but that looks like Wizard is stocking the minerals in the midst of this. Critically though, he's not stocking like a massive amount of gas. He didn't drop the 2nd gas as well to really pump the Mutalisks in the space of this. But this is the problem I was worried about right here, is the Zerglings are making their way out. 2 Zealots are making their way into the 3 o'clock location. They're not going to be able to take the layer out, but they might be able to soften it up a bit. And certainly they're going to get some drone kills. Wizard just now spotting it. And now let's see if the Zealot's going to start. Honestly, I think it's valuable to just turn around and start working on that layer. Chasing after the Zealots right this second. The hatchery almost blockaded by the probe on the forward field. The Zerglings still finally making their way around. This is honestly not that great a matchup though. 6 Zerglings versus 2 Zealots, depending on positioning. The Zealots, if they get in good spot, should be able, and with some decent micro, should be able to fight this. Ugh, not with the drones alongside, and not with just the straight up walking. Now the Zerglings overwhelming. Not a good trade at all from MetodMan, trying to walk in. Did get a drone kill, however. Finally, the 5th hatch getting dropped. Looks like another Zealot was able to scatter forward. Still doesn't have a kill. We did have an initial active Corsair that attacked to the south. So he's got all sorts of scouting information, so doesn't need to dedicate that Corsair to scouting. Or do we have a Scourge out yet? Wizard skipping initial Scourge as well. Another drone kill for MetodMan, so getting some good disruption with the Zealots. So despite the bad trade at the 3 o'clock location with the Zealots, has managed to stymie the drone count a bit. And the Scourge quite a bit later than it usually would be. Probe gonna be able to make its way back out. Zealot, I think this Zealot is on the Overlord hunt right this second. And let's see if the Scourge make a beeline towards this Overlord to make sure it's protective rather than going forward and scouting. That Corsair also needs to make its way back into the fold to get some defense. 2nd gas is up. Some defensive cannons are up as well. The Zealot actually gonna be able to make it into the 3 o'clock again. There is an Overlord here and a Sunken Colony. So I think he's just scouting out to see what the SimCity's like. More economic disruption here, by the way. So nice bit of harassment all the way. Not getting any drone kills. And that Sunken Colony gonna get a big swack in the midst of this. This Corsair is lucky. That is a lucky Corsair. So 2 cannons there, +1 weapons is being invested. Careful Corsair, yeah, I'm not sure where that was rallied. Scourge noticing the lack of gateways, which should be a indication that it's going to be more DT play. Usually if you don't see that gateway flood, yeah, you should expect +1 DT. This is a pretty good SimCity in the midst of this, and it looks like we do have Mutalisks that are making the way out. These Mutalisks, I'm not going to say they're a waste, but Wizard is going to have to be careful with them here initially, because they could very easily get raked over. Once you have like Corsairs in general can rip into the Mutalisks at large, but with +1 weapons, they absolutely shred Mutalisks. But they're going to go ahead and wind up. They might be able to get a probe or 2 along this back corner. Wizard getting pretty close, actually even in supply, which is a little bit scary. So these Dark Temp, it's not all that surprising though, considering the lighter gateway count. Missing, it looks like a probe kill, handful of probe kills, and another big round of drones, by the way, in the midst of this. Now the Corsairs in hot pursuit. DT's at the 3 o'clock. I don't think they're going to get a lot accomplished here with that Sunken Colony and the Overlords on location. Might be able to clear out some Zerglings, might be able to get a few drone kills, might be able to get some Zergling kills. Actually, might be able to get some decent damage against the hatchery as well. Out of range, but all the Overlords have to do is peek a little bit to that edge. So right now, Wizard in a really nice situation where he's got a lot of supply. The DTs haven't gotten a lot done. The Corsairs were heavily invested in. He's spotted, I believe that there's +1 weapons in the midst of this. Has built a lot of Scourge accordingly. Is maintaining air control. Ooh, is gonna find a free Corsair. Corsair, we're briefly turning around to engage. So 2 of the Corsair down, and now they're just taking roaming shot. Nice spread from Wizard as well. Corsair trying to readjust and mitigate the glaives, so able to wipe out at least 2 of the Mutalisks, but that was a sizable investment in both the DT and the Corsair, and really nothing happening. And he's gonna get a free High Templar on the front. Maybe 2. Is he gonna get the second one as well? That's what you want there for the Mutalisks. The Mutalisks have more or less been cleared out. The Zealots crashing into the 3 o'clock location. DT's trying to get on the drone lines, able to get a drone. But this is still, I don't think this is going to slow Wizard down all that much. Wizard's still up a significant amount of supply in the midst of this. It's really hard to execute the DT play in the modern era, honestly. Very, very challenging. Like Bisu does it. I don't know who else can even manage it. We do have the Gateway Flood now. We're up to 6, but this is going to be a very delayed third. This is going to be probably a free base. Yeah, Wizard already moving up to grab it. He can grab everything in the bottom right-hand corner, probably, if he wants to. And he's flooding with a lot of Hydralisks out to the front. We only have this single High Templar. Sorry, 2 High Templar. With a Psy Storm and a half. 2 Psy Storm. 2.5 Psy Storm. That's what I wanted to spit out there. With the energy. And this is enough Hydralisks to potentially absorb that and deny the third. Although I guess it depends on the quality of the Psy Storm. Additional gateways being dropped in the midst of this, the eggs being cleared out to try to open things up. So Wizard has done a fantastic job of shelling up, putting himself in a great, he's actually up 20 supply, which is scary. I don't see any lurkers out in the field right this second. I'm not sure if he invested in lurker tech, didn't pay attention to that. Does have +1 weapons with the Hydralisks, but with the, what is he sitting on 6 hatcheries as well? Yeah, sitting on 6 hatch, so sort of 6 hatch Muta. He's got a little bit of a Muta ball rebuilt in the form of 7 to go ahead and pick some units off. Actually, more than 7. What are we looking at? Looking at 9 instead. 9 and 2 more. So going to get the full control group here. Actually, might be, with the lack of Corsair, might be able to counterattack in the main as well. And certainly going to be able to pick off High Templar out in the front. We do have 3 damage Corsair, but unless a Psy Storm really hits well, it's not going to be enough. But these Mutalisks are way out of position right this second as MetodMan making his way. An okay Psy Storm. High Templar picked off. That's 2 Psy Storm dedicated to 8 Hydralisks, which is not that great a trade. And maybe got 5 Hydralisks total. Corsair doing what it can to pick off that Overlord on the front. Overlord speed is finished. Needs to be careful dragging the Corsair that far forward. But now, Wizard has found the front, and he's going to be able to pick off, yeah, so 1 High Templar gone, 2 High Templar gone, and let's see if he just moves up. Gets the probe as well as he's making his way across, still hunting to see if there's any more High Templar, but he got the value he was looking for. Got the value he was looking for out of the Mutalisks, and I think most Zerg players are pretty happy. That was maybe more Mutalisks than he potentially wanted to dedicate. Actually, MetodMan with the somehow in the midst of this has managed to regain supply advantage, which is a bit shocking to me, honestly, considering how far Wizard was ahead. But Wizard, in the meantime, had a very healthy 62 workers, very healthy, and now has the lurker starting to morph out in the field. He can go for a soft contain. This third coming up at this stage, while Wizard's already got 4 bases, 4 gas, and a slew of hatcheries, probably another base he could grab as well. The Mule's going to wander up. They're not going to force a cancellation, but they are going to pick on some zealots. Going to bully those zealots. The Corsairs getting a little bit of damage and at least able to chase them away. But Wizard, in a moment, when +2 weapons hits, which is I think what he's waiting for, can just start getting very aggressive. MetodMan at the very least able to deny the 1 o'clock. I'm wondering if MetodMan thinks he's in a better position than he is. What if he still thinks that Wizard's sitting on 3 rather than 4 bases? Hasn't checked the bottom right as of yet. Has observers though. +1 weapons, +1 armor. The lurkers making the way around. 1 High Templar in the midst of this is pinned to the northern portion of that army. Lurkers are not burrowed. Wizard repositioning. Those lurkers are actually fairly bunched up, depending on how MetodMan wants to engage this attack. And this isn't the full bear of Wizard's army as well. He's got a lot of this army to the north. Still hasn't repositioned. The Zealot is making its way bottom right. The lurkers have not yet burrowed. And the Zealot might be able to stream across and still get something. And that might be distractionary while Wizard is actually also not burrowed his lurkers here to the north. Needs to burrow ASAP. Okay, now able to burrow. And this could turn into a killing field one direction or the other. I think this is going to go Wizard's way. Nice Ice Storm on the back line to the Hydralisks. The Zealot's able to get some significant damage overall, but it looks like, yeah, the Lurker is just too much, and the Observer picked off. The Zealot looks like it got cleaned up bottom right as well, and now all of a sudden a 40 supply lead for Wizard. Army heavily damaged and retreating. It looks like the Mutalisks that were damaged earlier trying to make their way around and pick off any High Templar. A massive amount of cannons built from MetodMan at the 9 o'clock. And are we going to see, yeah, there's the drone making its way after that fight to go ahead and grab that natural expansion bottom left, recognizing, okay, I got a supply lead, I've got a sizable army to work with. I've got a lot of drones. Let me just go ahead and take the rest of the map. And we are seeing critically the move to Hive Tech. This is something I see a lot of Zerg make a mistake with, which is they just sit on the double upgrade. They end up ahead, they just sit on the bases, try to pick off High Templar and do the exchanges and hope they're going to starve Protoss off 3 bases. They're going to be able to starve them out, and very often doesn't work out. They do need that Hive Tech. The Plague, the Adrenal upgrades really provide a lot of support to late game Zerg army. +2 weapons, +1 armor, by the way, so there is an upgrade lead here for Wizard. He's got 50 supply over MetodMan right this second, and MetodMan still hasn't managed to grab his 4th, and he really doesn't have a lot of prospects in that regard. Zerglings making their way across, going to spot a little bit of this army, going to try to retreat. I'm wondering if this is going to provoke a counterattack from Wizard. Looks like Wizard moving that army mid-map. A lot of targets that he could go after, but the thing is any target he engages, any target he decides to dedicate to, you could have an overwhelming counterattack in kind at all directions. So Wizard could just flat out engage this, wipe this army off the map, and this continue macro from there, or he could just go for a counterattack at the natural, at the main, etc., etc. High Templar bunching up. This army is coming in a little bit piecemeal, but it's still just massive. The Lurkers finally joining. A lot of Sidestorm over the Lurkers. I think that's going to be, well, never mind. One more Sidestorm in the midst of this. 2 Lurkers remaining. Wizard lost a lot of that army. Yeah, just kind of came in as a trickle, and that allowed MetodMan to just get the maximum, but it didn't matter. Still didn't matter, as you can see, because there's still a 30 supply lead and continuation. The Zealots have been peeled off, the Sidestorm's been expended, and Wizard continuing to engage. So now that army's gone, Wizard can just, again, re-macro now with the 50 supply lead for a turnaround, and could counterattack or could just re-expand again after that. And I'll be curious to see which he does. He's still got this bottom left-hand natural, or the bottom right-hand natural expansion, which he has yet to saturate. But also the main is out for MetodMan, so he has to make something happen. He has to grab another base. Kind of the troublesome part of Deja Vu is getting back out on the map and grabbing an additional quadrant for yourself. Although Wizard right this second, is he waiting to pounce on the segment that is grabbed? He's got a large clumps of army just kind of all over the place. Although MetodMan, rather than going for a positional quadrant take, it looks like he's opting to get aggressive, dropping some additional Sidestorm. Wizard, he actually might end up taking this only because Wizard is having trouble, kind of the perennial Zerg, the usual Zerg problem of not being able to macro all of the control groups potentially. Wizard's near maxed, but his army isn't concentrated, and as a result, MetodMan getting some good exchanges overall. Yeah, he's just running into pockets of troops either direction, where like the bulk of the army's here, but potentially not hotkeyed up. So might end up winning some engagements. Now that army starting to move, and that might be it, and a couple Lurkers on Burrow, but that might be it. And this could be the game-ending moment right here. MetodMan either has to break everything bottom right to equalize things, or basically get dropped out. Oh man, huge Lurker line dropping. Was there any Sidestorm? Sidestorm was not there, so that army's now gone. And now MetodMan has the problem where his natural expansion is going to mine out shortly. And you've got a big Zerg army making its way. He's just now trying to grab that. I wish he had gone established bottom left before making one of those maneuvers. It looks like just now trying to make his way bottom left to establish something. But I just don't see that. I just don't see that getting grabbed. All sorts of Lurkers making their way across for Wizard. And that's going to be GG. Nice macro play. Solid win here for Wizard in game 1. We'll move on to game 2. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.